Hi, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our virtual Science Saturday. I am so happy to be talking about a really fun topic this week. We are exploring the science behind sea turtle tagging and research. I have a really phenomenal group with us today, and fun fact, we are experimenting with a new Science Saturday feature. We are having a Zoom panel from across the territory. Joe and I are in St. Croix, and we have on St. Thomas Paul Jopsis, the famous university sea turtle researcher and professor. We have Dan Melee, who has shown us this amazing video that we're going to see today, and you guys probably know his work from other videos and photographs as well. And our amazing co-host this week, we are working with VI EPSCoR, and we have Liza behind the scenes with the beautiful background, so not really hiding very well, but we're going to be facilitating and answering questions and just really having a very fun time. And of course, you guys know me, your favorite Science Saturday facilitator and host, Kitty, and your favorite Science Saturday scientist, Mr. Joseph Townsend. Hey, Joe. So we are going to be viewing a video this morning about the research being done on sea turtles in the territory out of the university, and watching, I think we can safely call this the live premiere of Dan's video all about this research. So I am going to pass it over now because we did not practice or plan this at all, and I love putting you guys on the spot. Joe, do you want to give a fun little introduction to this and what we've got going on?
Sure. Thanks, Kitty. So as Kitty said, we're in Science Saturday. We're going to be talking about sea turtles today. As such, Dan and I have switched over to our sea turtle backgrounds, which I love, of course. So I think what we'd like to do is just talk to you guys a little bit about the sea turtle research that we do here in the Virgin Islands. And this helps us understand all sorts of things about the sea turtle population that we have here, how healthy these turtles are, and gives us an idea of the best way to continue to save these wonderful animals. And I know that Dr. Jopsis, who is my professor and mentor on all this work, has been doing this work for a long time, which allowed Dan to come along with us and learn more about what that involves. So I think the best way to start off with this is maybe, Paul, do you want to introduce a little bit of what we're going to be seeing in a second here?
Sure, I'll be happy to, Joe. Thanks. Yeah, the video is really amazing. It's Dan is quite the artist with his photography and videography. But it's looking at sea turtles, which we've been studying in the Virgin Islands for many years. And the Virgin Islands is actually a really good place to study sea turtles because of the clear water and because sea turtles are here. So what we've started doing at the University of the Virgin Islands about 10 years ago is looking at the sea turtles in the water in Brewers Bay and some of the other bays around the islands. And these are juvenile sea turtles. So these are, teenager sea turtles, so to speak. They are anywhere from the age of probably 6 or 7 years old up to about 20 years old. And they live in the shallow waters, anywhere from 2 or 3 feet down to maybe 100 feet. They live in these waters for the first, from about age 5 till about age 20. So in Brewers Bay, we're seeing quite a number of them. And, we've been working, we started working with Kemet Amon Lewis, who is on St. Croix. And Kemet was doing work in Brewers Bay, showing the number of turtles there. And when I came, I sort of started picking that up and seeing that this is a great place to do research. And of course, we're interested in the sea turtles, not just because they're fascinating and beautiful in many ways, but also because they're endangered. So their populations have been plummeted since the past 100 years or so. They were over harvested, and so the sea turtle populations in the 1970s, people were really thinking they would go extinct because there just weren't very many sea turtles. So with a lot of protection and a lot of years, the populations have started to come back, especially in the green sea turtles and also some in the Hawksbill sea turtles. We're seeing these populations starting to recover. And so now we're getting these teenage turtles in the bay, and we're trying to figure out what they need, the space they need, the food they need, what their type of interactions are. So it's a really great place to study sea turtles. I'll let
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
take it back for a bit there, Joe.
We'll see a lot more of that now. And so, before we get started, Dan, is there anything that you want people to see, or you're excited for people to see in this video, or want them to pay close attention to look out for before we look at this?
Sure. I guess I just like to say is, working on this project has been a great opportunity, and I really appreciate Paul and Joe and all of you for allowing me to tag along and stick my cameras in your guys' faces and not hopefully not interfering too much with the work. But getting up and close to these turtles has really just given me a much bigger appreciation for how lucky we are to live in an area where you can hop in the water and see turtles pretty much every day. And frequently I'll swim Brewers Bay for fun, and every time I see them now, I'll be looking to see, oh, is that turtle tagged? Have they caught that one yet? How many are untagged? And it's really interesting to be able to follow that. And the filmmaking process was really exciting as well. Getting to film and photograph an animal that I really hadn't done much in the past was exciting and challenging.
Well, that all sounds good. Well, I think we've successfully hyped this up sufficiently. So I'm going to work on getting the video pulled up. So if everyone will just give me a moment, I'll get this video online here. So I need.
All right. Well, while Joe's getting that ready, if you guys have any questions, please put it in the chat. Liza and I are monitoring that, and we will get to those after the video. And just a heads up for anybody watching live, we do have a delay going from our Zoom to the Facebook Live. So put them in the comments, put them in the chat. If there's, for any reason, we don't get to your questions during the live video today, I promise we will all be looking at these and answering questions on the comments for Facebook, just in case we missed anything. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I think we're almost ready to go. So enjoy.
Oh, we're back here. Yeah, it's a really great video. Here it comes. Okay, so I've been really impressed with the quality of the videography.
Without further ado, let's begin.
Well, we're really interested in what's going on in Brewers Bay in terms of the number of sea turtles that live here, as well as how healthy they are. So in order to understand these sea turtles a little bit better, we actually have to capture these turtles and bring them back to our research station to look at how well they're doing. It's sort of like going to the doctor. So when we capture a turtle, we'll actually bring it onto the boat and we'll cover it with a moist, dark towel. And this helps keep the turtle calm while we bring it back to the research station. We also note the time, the date, and the location that we caught this turtle. We have a special tool called a caliper. This caliper actually measures the straight length of the turtle from the top of the shell to the very end along the scutes. we also do the same thing along the widest part of the shell. We'll also do measurements using Taylor tape. So this actually allows us to get the curved length of the carapace and the curved width of the carapace. So once we've gotten the size of the turtle, we want to know how heavy the turtle is and how much it weighs. So we'll put the turtle into a bag. And by putting it into the bag, we can hold it underneath a scale and weigh how heavy that turtle is. After we've seen how big and heavy the turtle is, we'll actually look to see if the turtle has any flipper tags on it. These are small pieces that we put on the turtles once we've captured them. And this tells us the name of the turtle and if we've captured it before, how big it was back then. If the turtle doesn't have tags, then we actually know that this is a turtle that we've never caught before. And so we'll take down this information for the next time we tag it to see how well it grows then. So in addition to the flipper tags, we also have a special microchip. And this is just like the microchip that we put in our pet dogs and our pet cats that goes inside of the turtle that helps us identify it in case those flipper tags fall off. Once we have all of this information, the last thing we want to do is just look over the turtle and see if there's any sort of health issues or any problems that the turtle is having, and take photos so that the next time we capture this turtle, we can compare those photos to the first time. So now that the health examination is complete, we can actually return this turtle exactly to where we found it. And we want to make sure that we don't take it too far from its home. So we take it to the exact spot that we first captured it, and we release it very carefully into the water so it can swim right back to its home. If you come to one of our VI EBSCOR sponsored events, you can meet the researchers working to protect the sea turtles and learn more about what it means to be a marine biologist in the Virgin Islands.
All right, really cool. I hope you guys all enjoyed that. And I think we are now ready to start some questions. So I think that was really cool. And I would love to start actually, because I love putting people on the spot. Dan, can you tell us kind of what it was like being involved in the research and any really fun things that you didn't expect while filming this process?
Sure, I guess so. I went in being really ambitious, thinking that I was, especially the in-water portion when they're chasing the turtles. I guess I had this idea that I was going to be able to keep up with them easily, not realizing that I had this big bulky camera and me swimming through the water was going to be a really, really slow process for me while they were chasing these turtles really quickly. So I remember the first few times I went out, it was basically just me kind of floating in the water, watching commotion go all around me, and it looked pretty funny. But in terms of the project itself, because I work as a scientist as well in coral, it was nice to be a part of a project where I could really love and appreciate the science happening in front of me, as well as document it in a way that would be shared for everybody to see, and really get a up close personal look at what the researchers were doing with helping these sea turtles. One thing I really love about this project too is that, as Paul once said to me, it's a great example of how conservation works. There's been a lot of regulations put in place to protect turtles, and now we're starting to see their numbers come back slowly over time.
Yeah, I think Dan has a really good point. I know, so I've been involved in the Sea Turtle research program for about 3 years now, not nearly as long as Paul, but it does take a lot of training to really do this work and really make sure that we're working on this. I know the first couple times I went out to help out with this research, I was working as a sea turtle spotter, and I was letting the trained divers kind of step in, and like it does take a while to kind of really be able to interact safely and efficiently with these animals. So I think that's something that's really interesting. Like Dan, I also do a lot of work, I'm sure we've heard at Science Saturday, about corals. Corals don't move, turtles do. And so it's a lot different work, and it does require a lot more time and experience working with these animals to really work with them effectively, I think. And I think Paul, of course, could say that more than anyone.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. And, we were really fortunate here. First we had, as I said, Kevin Amon Lewis was here, and he and Robert Van Dam actually were the ones who showed me how to catch a sea turtle, because I'd never done that before. And there are definitely some skills and techniques to it. And then we're fortunate, I think he was my third graduate student, Scott Eanes, is amazing in the water. And I see Joe smiling there because, Scott has taught a lot of us different things about how to catch turtles and how to dive, free dive down to quite deep and catching sea turtles and bringing them back. So it's been great to sort of see that progress. And now when we get new graduate students, one of the first things we do is sort of talk to them about the techniques, and because we want to catch the turtles safely. We don't want to injure them. We don't want to scare them too much. So we want to try to catch them quickly without doing it in a dangerous way. So usually that is just us swimming, and we dive down and catch them by hand. And that's not easy, but once you learn the techniques, you can get pretty good at it.
Awesome. That's really interesting. So in the video, you guys talk about, once you catch them, the measurements that are done. What kind of information are you collecting, and what could that tell us about the population of the sea turtles that we have in St. Thomas and specifically Brewers Bay?
Well, I'm going to say something about that, and then I'm going to hand it off to Joe, because Joe's done some really good analysis on this. So, the measuring their growth is important, because if they are growing, and if we measure them and we catch them a second time, we can tell how fast they're growing. And then that gives us a good idea of how healthy they are and if they're getting enough food and things like that. Just like when you're marking your height on the wall, we mark the height of these turtles or the size of these turtles as they grow. And so we're very interested in the number of turtles, but also in the growth rates of the turtles. And I'm going to hand this off to Joe, because he's done some pretty neat analysis on both of those.
Sure, thanks, Paul. Yeah, I think, kind of like what we were talking about in the video, when we're bringing these turtles on shore, it's really like a doctor's visit for them, because unfortunately, if turtles are having trouble, finding food or anything like that, they can't tell us. And so by using these growth measurements and also looking at their weight, we can essentially see how they're feeling, how healthy they are, if they're having trouble finding food, or if this is a place where they're having a lot of food. And by doing so, over this long time, so this current tagging program in Brewers Bay has been going on for about 5 years. We can look at a number of things that have happened through time and see how it affects these turtles. So one of the research projects that Paul and I have been working on most recently was looking at, in 2017, the hurricanes that came through, Hurricanes Irma and Maria. And one thing we were curious about is, we have this population in the bay that we've been looking at them beforehand. How did they respond after? Were they still healthy afterwards? Were there still the same number of turtles? And interestingly enough, I know that the hurricanes were quite devastating here. But what we found that was quite interesting is, even though we saw what was kind of a pretty drastic change in the seagrass and even the changes in the sponge community, which is food for both our green turtles and our hawksbills, the turtles actually stayed pretty healthy. So they have ways of kind of dealing with these very disastrous events like hurricanes. And we didn't see too much change in the population size or really a change in the overall health of the turtles. And we were able to tell that by doing these kind of regular checkups with turtles. That's a really great way to kind of have this information over the long term.
All right, that's really cool. I want to pass it over to Liza. Has been monitoring the Facebook comments. Liza, what kind of questions are we getting on the Facebook?
Somebody asked, do you guys nickname the sea turtles?
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's a really good one.
Yes, we do name the sea turtles. And the rule we have is the person who catches the sea turtle gets to choose a name for the sea turtle. So many of our sea turtles are named after volunteers who come to help us. We, of course, have some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle named turtles, Donatello and all of those. But for example, we have several of our volunteers have had turtles named after them. So that's always fun too, to then let them know that, hey, we caught Danny again, and Danny's still in the bay, and she's doing well, and things like that. So that's it's fun to give them nicknames.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that Danny's doing well. That brings joy to my heart. I'm seeing a lot of comments coming through, so thank you guys all for watching and having fun with us. We've got some questions about more on the scientific side as far as recapture rates. So what kind of, not just recapture, but how often you see these turtles again once they are tagged?
I think this is a great question. We do see, so once we've tagged the turtles, because we're able to use that microchip, even if these flipper tags fall off, which they do kind of regularly, it's something that happens, these turtles are swimming around a lot. We are able to keep a really good record of if we've caught a turtle before or not. And some turtles, just because of kind of various changes in various differences in their behaviors and their personalities, these turtles all have very distinct personalities. Some of them we do see a lot more than others. I believe we've caught one turtle 9 times. Paul can correct me if I'm wrong. I think we've only caught one that we've caught that many times.
That's right. We have one we caught one hawksbill. I believe it was named We Did It.
Yeah.
And We Did It 9 times over the 5 years. So that's not
right.
Every time in 1 year, but and about half of the hawksbills we've recaptured at least once. So we've caught about 64 hawksbills over the 5 years, and 32 of them we've caught at least one more time. So.
Right. And this is really interesting because in particular, Paul talking about the hawksbills, these are critically endangered. So this is while we do have greens and hawksbills, we're particularly interested in that hawksbill community because it is, in general, I mean, in terms of global distribution, a lot smaller. And to see a regular juvenile, like Paul said earlier, teenagers, kind of congregating together and seeing them stay in the bay, remaining there, is particularly interesting. And
oh, looks like maybe Joe froze up there for a second. I'll take off from there. So Joe's done some nice analysis on the number of turtles.
It's always kind of fun when we caught a turtle.
Okay, Joe froze there for a while, so it looks like he's back now. But yeah, Joe's done some nice analysis and estimating the number of hawksbills in the bay and the number of green sea turtles in the bay, and those numbers are fairly stable. And I believe it was somewhere around 75 to 80 turtles, hawksbill turtles in Brewers Bay, and a little bit more, around 120 to 130 greens in the bay. But we don't have quite as good of a data set on the greens because so that population is larger and we've caught a smaller percentage. But that's one of the reasons, that's how we know this is because we've been able to tag them and then we get estimates from them.
Right, and I know that it's always pretty fun and exciting when we catch turtles that maybe we haven't caught in a while, and that does happen. We see turtles that sometimes we catch in like our first year, like 5 years ago, and then we'll catch again, maybe 3 or 4 years later, and we have, we're able to use that data set to say, wow, here's how this turtle's been doing over the course of that time. And then other turtles, of course, we see very regularly. I know in the past year where we were kind of doing these checkups, we caught one turtle, I believe 4 times. And so this turtle, really likes going to the doctor, I guess. But, that data is interesting too, because we can see, in the short term or through the seasons, how this turtle's doing, maybe different places that it was caught. And then we also have that longer data too. Anyway, so do we have any other questions? Sorry.
Yeah, Liza, do we have anything coming in on the Facebook page?
Yeah, we have actually quite a few. This one's a really good scientific one. Do the patterns on the shells or extremities mean anything? Indicate lineage or certain origin?
Well, I will try to answer that. Not that I know of. There are certainly some different patterns, and they're and some of them are very pretty. Like the one that's behind Dan and his background is a beautiful green sea turtle. But as they get older, they get a little less colorful. But we don't know anything about as far as their patterns and their lineages. We have had some work done with their genetics. So we take a genetic sample, a little tissue sample, and we send that off. And my graduate student, Jessica Levinson, did some great work with Kelly Stewart, and she was able to show, or at least estimate, where these turtles are coming from. So the different beaches that the turtles were hatched on and the different populations they're from. And the short answer is they're coming from all around the Caribbean. So they're not just Brewers Bay turtles. They're not even just St. Thomas or Virgin Island turtles. These are really turtles from as far away as Honduras and the Yucatan and Barbados and things like that. They're coming from all around. And then some of them will settle into Brewers Bay.
Okay. Someone also, another question, have you guys ever been bitten during the capturing process? And when you catch them, do you free dive down?
So I'll be happy to answer. I personally have not been bitten, but I have seen people get bitten. The green sea turtles are not very bitey, to use that word. Hawksbills will be a little bit more mouthy, and I've seen people holding the turtle and get bit on the shoulder. It doesn't break the skin very much because these are small turtles, juveniles. And what was the second part of the question again?
If you free dive down to get them.
Yes, yeah. So we free dive down to get them, and a couple different techniques that we use, but mostly it's just free diving. We are allowed to use a net as well, and we have done that, but that's not as effective with the hawksbills. So we typically just will swim and hold our breath and dive down and catch the turtle. And Joe's very good at it. Scott, as I said, was very good at it. And so luckily we've been able to do it with just free diving, which is probably the safest way.
Right. I'll add to this point that Paul's making, that the reason we use this technique is because it's both the safest for us as well as the safest for the turtles themselves. Kind of the point about the turtles biting and things, we're grabbing, the way that we're handling these turtles is, in a way that, they're feeling safe and secure. Like I said, as soon as we have the turtle in hand, we're bringing them on the boat, we're putting in that towel to calm them down. And same with the free diving technique. If we were to employ something like scuba, it would require us it would potentially be an unsafe ascent for both us and the turtle. So by doing this kind of free diving technique, we're bringing the turtle out of the water. We're immediately kind of calming them down in that using that moist dark towel, and then we bring them to the checkup, and then we take them right back to where we captured them. So it's the least amount of time for them to be handled, and so it's the least stressful for them, and that's the reason we do it this way. And I don't know if we didn't really have a chance to mention it in the video, but that towel technique, this is a really well established technique in reptiles and birds and even some mammals. Using kind of that dark, wet and cool environment, it slows down all of the reactions of the turtle, and it's like going to sleep for them. So they're just immediately pacified. And that's why we do take a lot of time to make sure that the turtles are as little stressed as possible. And that's the reason we kind of do it this way.
Right. So
all right, and
eyes, you cover their eyes and they calm down, just like a bird. If you cover a bird's eyes, they'll calm down.
Right.
All right, guys, I have been following the comments between Christina and Heidi, and I promise we're trying to get to all of these.
Yeah.
You guys have some amazing questions, and Christina, you know that you can find us in the office later. And I think that this follows up really well, talking about the free diving and the safety for the scientists as well as the turtles. But what is the approximate depth that you guys are going to, and how is that also helping to ensure the safety of the sea turtles and yourselves with the ascents to the surface?
Right. Well, it varies a good bit. And some of us are better free divers than others. Most of the turtles, I would say, we're catching within 25 to 30 feet of the surface. I have caught them deeper than that, and I know Joe has and Scott has. And often what the turtle will do, especially the hawksbills, is they'll be sort of partially lodged under a rock, and they'll be resting there. So if we see them, we can dive down, and even fairly deep. I've probably gone down close to 45 or 50 feet. It's the deepest one I've been able to capture. And the turtle was just resting under a rock. I was able to grab the turtle, and then if you face the turtle in the direction you want to swim, he will swim with you and help you get up to the surface. Again, the reason we don't do that with scuba diving is that could be dangerous, going up to the surface very quickly. Whereas with free diving, we don't have that problem. But I try to stress with all the people that work with us that safety is the number one issue. It's fine if we don't catch the turtle. That's, less important than being safe. And, I don't know when we'll get to this. So I want to say this now. All of the work that we do is permitted and reviewed by the National Marine Fisheries Service, which issues permits to work with sea turtles and any protected species, marine species. And we also go under a university review board that looks at the techniques that we're doing to make sure that they're safe and that we're not injuring the turtles or the people, of course, too. So it's reviewed, and then we'd have annual reports that we have to send in, and those get reviewed, and we get questions back on those about our techniques. And so it's a regulated thing. It's illegal for to go out and catch or harass sea turtles. Otherwise, you have to have a permit to do that.
Yeah, well, I think so. The other important thing to contextualize with kind of the work that we're doing is, in particular with the hawksbills, but also with the greens. A lot of the work we're doing is in Brewers Bay, and actually, as this program is getting established, you've heard his name a lot, but Scott Eanes and a number of other students were doing some work to understand the runway, the actual artificial reef that's along the airport runway, the riprap and the dolos that are there. And what we found is that hawksbills in particular really like all of that structure, that ledging. And as you go along the runway, I don't know if people have had the chance to snorkel or dive out there, you'll know that it's a pretty steep face, coming up to the surface, of course, and then also going down to about 70, 80, even 90 feet in some areas. And all of that is, this really complex structure that allows the turtles to kind of feed, but then also hide from predators or sleep in a sheltered environment, as Paul mentioned earlier. So what we're doing when we're doing these surveys, we're essentially swimming along the surface on snorkel as a team in a line, looking for any kind of turtle that may be out resting or any kind of evidence of a turtle, potentially some herbivory. And then once we see a turtle, we'll work as a buddy team to kind of determine the most efficient way to capture that turtle, whether it's one diver coming, maybe from the backside so the turtle doesn't see and then moving there. But, this is it's an environment where we're definitely diving, within our limits and kind of making sure that we're doing that. But it is a relatively high grade environment. And so those depths vary pretty wildly. And we see very small turtles, far beyond our diving depths. We may dive down 30 or 40 feet and we see, at 70 or 80 feet, there's a little turtle down there. So they're really incredible divers. I think that's something that's really fascinating about them, even at this kind of relatively young age. It's really kind of interesting.
All right, really cool. I want to thank again all of the questions and comments that are coming through from our live viewers. But I think that this is a good time to kind of segue into, if you want to watch this video over and over again and think that it's so much fun and pretend you're a sea turtle researcher, Joe, can you tell us how to get to the VIF score website and watch this video again, and maybe even do a fun coloring activity to pretend you're a scientist? Because we should all be coloring and pretending we're scientists.
Sure, in true Science Saturday form, we've got to make sure everyone's got a coloring page. I'll tell you what, I will navigate to the website, and I'll pull that up. But in the meantime, are there other questions while I get that going?
Yeah, let's go to Liza. Liza, what's going on the Facebook page?
People they're loving this. They think you guys are wonderful. They're saying, you guys they're great. They're loving the video, and they're loving the talk. People want to know how they can sign up to participate and help research, and if they're on vacation, how they could come here and possibly donate to help the cause.
Well, I will answer.
We love donations.
We love donations. It's
Yes.
actually a very important part of how we fund our research, is with donated funds, and we've been very fortunate to be supported by the Baird Family Trust, as well as the National Save the Sea Turtle Foundation. They and other just donors who have donated to our fund. So we did have a GoFundMe page. I believe that may have expired, but I'll see if I can renew that and send that to the link. But we also, my email address is pretty easy to find if you look up Paul Jobsis at University of the Virgin Islands. And so most of the people contact me directly, or one of my students. And we're trying to go out quarterly. We don't do much of the in-water capture work right now because we're waiting for our next permit to be approved, but we are allowed to do swimming surveys and count the number of turtles that we see. So we're doing that weekly, and we have had both local people come out and help us, as well as vacationers who will come and down, and they're here for the week and they want to do something fun. They'll go out and we'll do our survey, and they can count the number of turtles with us, and then we talk to them about the sea turtle conservation that we're doing. And again, it's we're always eager to sort of be very public about this. I know it's a little bit, some people don't like animal research, and but we are really trying to protect these animals is the reason why we're doing it. And so I think it's a worthy cause, and the more people we can get interested, I think the better. So we're trying to do this very publicly, which is why I love this video that Dan put together, and the work that Joe and Kitty and Liza have been doing to help it get it out there.
Cool. As somebody also wanted to know, have you seen much FP in the greens in Brewers? Do you record it when you do?
That's an interesting question. Let me explain a little bit about what FP is. It's a disease that's sort of like warts, like when people get warts. As a matter of fact, it's caused by a very similar virus called fibropapilloma virus. So that's where the FP comes from. And it's kind of interesting story. When I started doing this research and doing the surveys, we never saw fibropapilloma. And it was kind of interesting because just 10 or 12 miles away in Culebra, which is another island, they have a really high incidence of fibropapilloma. And so for about 4 or 5 years, we did not see any. And that was great. And then after the hurricanes in 2017, so starting when we were doing our surveys in 2018, we started to see it. And it's definitely been a problem here in St. Thomas now, and St. Croix, I believe. And these wart-like growths, and sometimes they're fairly benign and the turtles live fine with them. And then other times they can start to infect their eyes or their mouth, or sometimes even the internal organs. And that can be lethal when that happens. So we're trying to document it. We don't have facilities here on St. Thomas to do some of the surgeries that would be necessary. We have tried to document it and recover some of the sea turtles that were sick, but most of them we just leave in the water because sometimes they do self-cure. They sort of can get rid of the virus, just like sometimes people get rid of the warts that we have, but sometimes not. So it's a serious disease that we're trying to get more research on. Actually, the permit that we have submitted has that in the permit, that we'll be doing some sampling for fibropapillomas.
All right, really interesting. And Joe, if you have anything to comment on that, but if not, I think that we can move back to a screen share to show the EBSCOR website and our fun coloring activity for this month.
Sure, yeah. Paul, I think you had a great coverage of that and what we're trying to understand about it. I think I just want to kind of echo that call that if anyone is swimming around and does see a turtle with fibropapilloma, we encourage you to reach out to us, take a picture if possible while not getting near the turtle. And we encourage you to kind of submit those reports. We do have a number of ways to report that I'll make sure get included in the video description. But for now, I went ahead and pulled up. So for anyone who's maybe not able to make it today or really wants to look at this video again that Dan has put together, really great capturing kind of what it's like to be on this. And thanks to some hard work over at EBSCOR, we have a page. So this is the Virgin Islands EBSCOR website. You can see up here, this is viebscor.org. If you navigate to Kids Turtle Tagging Fun, you just have here, this is the video here. You can watch it just right here. It's also available on YouTube. And we also have down below here, in addition to the description of what you're seeing in the video, we have the tag and color your own sea turtle, which if you select, you will be taken to this lovely coloring page. I know a lot of our Science Saturday regulars know that we love coloring here at Science Saturday, and if we could be in-person coloring, we absolutely would be. So I hope everyone will have a chance to kind of take this. And what's fun about this activity is you can actually take the time to tag your own sea turtle. So you see here, we have an opportunity to name the sea turtle since you're the one who's captured and tagging it. We'll look for the length and the width. So if you remember from the video, we take those calipers, or you can take a little bit of measuring tape, measure from the top of the shell here, right to the back of those scoots there. And you can record how long that turtle is, as well as how wide that turtle is, right? So that we can get an idea of how big the turtle is, so that the next time we catch it, we'll see if it's grown any. So I think this is a great activity that EBSCOR has put together, and I look forward to seeing everyone's turtles, green or otherwise.
All right, thanks, Joe. So we are coming up on 45 minutes. And before we end, I do want to kind of, first of all, put out a challenge to all of our viewers. I would love to see your colored and tagged sea turtles. So if you color that and you want to take a picture of it or scan it, post it in the comments of this live video that will stay accessible on the DPNR page as well as the EBSCOR Facebook page. You can also just post it to one of our pages or send it to us however you like, and we will make sure to celebrate that in all of its glory. And now before we go, I just kind of want to go around and give one more chance to our amazing, smart, fantastic panelists today to give us one last message. So because you've been sitting there so calm and relaxed, Dan, I want to hear one more. What's your final message for us today?
I would say just go out and observe the natural world around you. I mean, you don't have to, being a scientist doesn't just mean publishing your work all the time. It just means just looking at things and making an observation and then drawing your own conclusion from it. And then since, I love the photography and video side of things, don't forget to take pictures. Take pictures as often as you can. And, that'll further your love for the environment as well.
Very cool. Thanks. And Paul, what do you want to leave us with today?
Well, I would reiterate a little bit what Dan said. Definitely get out there and enjoy the natural environment. And, I think all of us have a little scientist in us that wants to measure things and see how things are changing. And I also want to say that it's really important that we try to protect the natural species that are out there, like the sea turtles, because they're part of the environment. And in order to keep the ecosystem sort of stable, you have to have all the members of the ecosystem. So, that includes the corals, the seagrasses, the fish, and of course on land is very important too. It also includes the sea turtles, which are an important part of the ecosystem in the marine world. So it's important that we protect those things and we understand how to protect them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paul. And finally, our favorite Science Saturday scientist, Joe, bring us home. What you got?
Well, I think I'm gonna have to borrow from those two great answers. So I think that's a great point on Dan's part about there's always something, if you're asking questions about what you're seeing in the world, you're doing the right thing. You're being a scientist, and I love that. And then to Paul's point about conservation, I think a lot of times there can kind of be this disconnect where there's like, well, we want to protect the sea turtles, but how do I do that? And you can protect sea turtles with your everyday decisions. To call back to last month, Science Saturday, where we did a beach cleanup and we were looking at all sorts of things that are on the beach. Things like this, these are really important aspects of saving sea turtles and the entire natural environment. As Paul said, without one of these players in our environment, the entire ecosystem can be really in trouble. So things like looking at, how much you're using, making sure you're cleaning up your beaches, making sure that there's no trash or anything like that. And in particular, right now, we're in the middle of sea turtle nesting season. So we want to make sure that in particular, these beaches are clear, they're not being well lit, there's not noise or bonfires on these beaches, because this is a really important time where we can bring our sea turtle populations back. And if you ever want to learn more about that, there's a lot of resources we have online, both from the Department of Planning and Natural Resources, the Coastal Zone Management Division, as well as the Division of Fish and Wildlife, as well as the University of the Virgin Islands and VI EBSCOR. You can learn all about all these different ways that you can take care of the environment and protect these wonderful creatures.
I wanted to add one
beautiful.
more quick thing.
Yeah.
If you guys like this video, about a year ago, we actually made a longer video too on Paul's work and Joe's work and the whole Sea Turtle Cruise work, where you can actually see more of what they're doing out there, and as well as when they go out night tagging. So it's even longer and even more in-depth videos. So if you like the video aspect, I definitely urge you to find that one as well, which I believe is on the EBSCOR site as well.
Yeah, it's on another page, but it is on the EBSCOR site as well as YouTube as well. We can make sure that those are linked. Great point, Dan.
And it's on YouTube as well. Yeah, that's a great video that Dan made.
Yeah, awesome. Makes us look great in that one.
All right. Well, thank you so much to everybody. This was so much fun. I think that it's been almost 3 years since we had a Science Saturday on sea turtles. So really excited to have such amazing content and really fun, smart, amazing scientists. And Dan, who gets the ability to be a scientist and a videographer. So thank you guys so much. We don't know what our topic is for Science Saturday next month is. The surprise is too much. Who knows what it'll be? If you have any ideas, if you have any requests, if you are a scientist and you want to help me host Science Saturday, let me know. We love to have new people coming in all the time. So guys, everybody have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy this beautiful weather. Stay safe. We love you all. And thank you so much for a fantastic Science Saturday. Now I'm going to a farm to go grocery shopping.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.